Hey, how y'all doing, man? We're back again with another episode of It Factor. As always, from your host, Jeremy Robertson. Today we have somebody special as always. Go ahead and introduce yourself, brother.
Hey, what's up, man? Ryan Clark, former NFL safety, now an analyst for ESPN. Other than that, I'm just a dude. We're gonna get this going, answer a few questions, have a little fun. Hope you guys like it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. So first off, man, how you doing, man? How everything been, with COVID and everything going on in the world?
I mean, the world is the world, and it revolves around us. I think we too often look into how it's affecting us and just don't understand we got to live in it. And I think from the beginning of COVID, I felt that way. And obviously, not having certain organs and being a little bit predisposed or having some underlying conditions, I took it very seriously, but I also understood that it was the world that we lived in. And then to still have a job, man, to still have my health, to not have lost, any family members, I count myself blessed and lucky for sure. And the rest of it is just living.
Okay, that's amazing, man. So, based off your journey, early on in your career, what would you say helped you to get to the place you are now? What would you tell a younger athlete coming up trying to get into the NFL or anything like that?
I was never trying, to get into the NFL. Like I was just living those days.
Mhm.
When I played little league ball, I wanted to play well. When I played, middle school, high school, college, it was about being as good as I could possibly be in the space that I was in.
Right.
And then the end result was getting, have an opportunity to play in the NFL. And I think once you're in anything, you want to be the best you can possibly be. I tell people all the time, we don't all get to be LeBron or Tom Brady or any of those guys, Patrick Mahomes. Some of these dudes who get to wake up and have the possibilities of being the best to have ever done something. Like we don't all have that level of talent or that level of ability. But what we do all have the level of ability to do is be the best that we possibly can.
Right.
And so every morning I woke up and I thought to myself, okay, how can I max out, tap out my potential? And if you do that, if you do all that work and you fall short or you don't necessarily get everything that you want, you should be able to be comfortable with that because you knew you did everything you possibly could.
Right.
Everything that was within your power to be the best you could possibly be, you did those things. And I think to me, that was the way I just always tried to live life.
Amazing, man. So, in that question, what would you say your it factor, man? And what would you say drives you every day?
Um, I don't really know if I wake up every day and think to myself, this is what I have to do and this is the reason I have to do it.
Mhm.
I think we just are who we are.
Right.
You know, I'm passionate about certain things, and those things that I'm passionate about, I work really hard to succeed at. I'm passionate about my family, and so taking care of my family was always very important to me. And so anything that fell in the line of allowing me to do that, I
Mhm.
wanted to be great at it. Whether it was playing football, obviously being an analyst now, I own my own training facility. All of those things, I put a ton of work into it because it mattered. Um, and I think when you look at life in the way of figuring out what your passions are, figuring out how you can live them, and then also figuring out how those things touch other people. Like
Mhm.
that's where I am now. How my knowledge, my experiences, the things that I've gone through to get me to this point, to be 41-year-old Ryan Clark doing the things that I'm doing. How does that help the next generation of whether it's people who want to be like me, whether it's people who want to do similar things, or people who don't want to have the same pitfalls and mistakes and face the same adversity, the same obstacles? How do I help them not go through those things, or how do I help them excel? That's what wakes me up every morning with my own children, with my own family, with my own friends, with my own clients, and with people I don't even know,
Right.
because we get opportunities to touch others.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. So, what challenges have you faced? Need it be in your career or life, while even now, or even times in the league.
And now, man, my life is pretty cake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now I'm probably my largest enemy now. To be honest, I think when when you accomplish a lot and when you're given a lot by the
Mm,
grace of God, you you sometimes you sometimes think you're making the right decisions. You sometimes think you're doing the right things when you're really not looking at every day the people you touch, the people you matter to, the people or the things that are supposed to be priorities. Are you always doing right by them? And so I think that's my focus now. And I mean, while I was playing, I almost passed. I lost my spleen, my gallbladder, a
mm,
piece of my liver. I had a sickle cell crisis in Denver, and I think that was probably the biggest obstacle in football because the rest of it is just football. Not being drafted, being cut, having to get a job at LSU after my second year, like all that stuff is just stuff. And those are things that everybody goes through. But being faced with your own mortality, losing one of your closest friends, Sean Taylor, shortly after you get out of the hospital, and realizing that life is short, realizing that, we aren't all promised. And after Sean passed, I tried to change my number to 21. The
mm,
league would let me. And so I wore 21 to practice every day. And then I got a shirt made with his, with the sunrise, the sunset, with his birth and with his death and with his number on it and, certain words to remember him. And I wore it every game. And,
mm,
because I made a decision that once he passed, anytime I got an opportunity to play, I'd give him an opportunity to be out there because I felt like he deserved it more than me. And the world would have benefited more from seeing him play than seeing me play. And I
mm,
think when you have things like that happen, and it really truly, I wasn't motivated by the negativity or the pain or the hurt. I was motivated that God chose me to be here. That God said that we'll give you more days to breathe. We'll give you more opportunities to play. We'll give you more opportunities to share. And I was motivated by that to do the right thing and to remember people who I knew were more worthy than me that weren't still getting those opportunities.
mm. All right, I like that, man. That's real important to have that. And, as you can see, man, I'm a big Sean Taylor fan. So the fact that you
That's
played
it.
with him and to be able to get in touch with you is an amazing thing, man. So as time goes, though, how important would you say is it for a person to, if they watch you, how real you are and how much you bring as an analyst at ESPN? How important is
Oh
it for
man,
somebody to see?
I was doing TV one day and I got a text messages from one of my colleagues who I really respect.
Mm,
He's not a former athlete, but he does work at ESPN. A black man, he's very very good. Um, and he texts me and he goes, "Do you see how many people at ESPN try to be you now?" And I was like, "Well, what you mean?" He's like, "Man, there's so many different people who take little parts of what you bring as an
mm,
analyst and try to duplicate it." He's like, "It's a lot of stuff I never saw before you started working here that I see all the time now. But I know the first time I saw it happen, it was you. I know the first time I saw it be successful, it was you." I didn't really think about it. And my wife, when I was signing my new contract, she brought it up. She was like, she's like, whether it's the clothes, the analogies, the way you are, your realness, your love for black people and continuing to stand on that. She's like, so many things that you do, now we see it all the time. And I never really thought about that until, they said it. But I think that's part of the authenticity. I think that's part of being yourself. But I also know like I wasn't always like that. When I first started, I thought I got to show everybody I'm smart. I got to show everybody I could sound, like all these other dudes. I got to show all these things. I'm a cat. I'm from the West Bank of New Orleans. Like
mm,
I'm. I listen to some old interviews from high school, and I was saying baby, and all those things were me.
right.
And so I was trying to fight those things and hide that a little bit so I could fit in. And then after a while, I realized I couldn't, like, I can't out Lewis Riddick, out Lewis Riddick. I can't out, Matt Hasselbeck, or Tony Romo. What I can do that nobody in the world can do is be Ryan Clark and
Right.
be dang good at being Ryan Clark. And I think that's in anything we do. For so long, we've had to acclimate, we've had to compromise, we've had to assimilate to fit in,
Mhm.
right? And to fit into these to these industries that we want to be a part of, yet they don't necessarily, they don't necessarily, they love our culture. They don't necessarily love us though.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so my thing was, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I need to do it like me. Like if I'm not gonna be on Countdown, if I'm not gonna be on the Sunday show, if I'm not gonna do Monday Night Football,
Hmm.
and then if I'm gonna be sitting at my house eventually without this job, I want to go out being RC, and that was what I did, man. And so once I did that, and once I kind of just started to go into my own, I realized the power of not just my voice, but our voices. You
Right.
know, when you stick me and Dominique Foxworth on Wednesday, which is a day nothing's happened, right? Like
Hmm.
it's not Monday, so you ain't got the Sunday games. It's not Tuesday, so you don't have Monday night football. It's not Thursday, so you can't talk about the Thursday game, and it's not Friday, so you can't talk about the weekend. You know what I'm saying? You just smack dab in the middle of the week.
Hmm.
And we went on, bro, and I was like, damn, bro, like I'm just gonna do me. And I watched him open up and become more himself, and then it turned into a thing. And I think it showed the power of people that love our culture but also love us.
Right. I would say that, man, because with me, of course, growing up, bro, I always watch you, man. Been watching you since being a little boy, and the thing I
Right.
say is the change over time. I did see that, and
Mhm.
I actually wanted to tap in on that to see that you just, I think, person is cool, and I feel like we need more people like you in the world, man. To be
I
honest.
don't know about that. I don't know if the world's necessarily ready for more of me. I think, you know, we don't, I was talking about it. I don't know. I have my own podcast, which truly is not for people to listen to,
Hmm.
which is crazy, right? Like I do it because like I be having stuff to say that if I don't say it publicly, sometimes it's gonna drive me crazy,
Right.
And throughout COVID, I didn't do it at all. My mom got COVID very early, like early February,
Hmm.
2020. Um, she, has lupus and aspergillus and all these things. So when she got it, I was like, oh, she's gonna die. I'm just gonna be honest.
Hmm.
And she didn't, thank God. And so there was that, and then there was George Floyd, and
Right.
then Breonna Taylor, then Jacob Blake, and that was, bro, that was all I could think about.
Hmm.
All I could think about was not getting COVID, right? Not losing people to COVID, or the people that were being lost to COVID that I knew, and social justice. And so that was what I did. I paid for Juneteenth rallies, and I spoke at Juneteenth rallies, and I did unity marches, and I spoke at unity marches, and I did all these things because that was all I could think of. And I knew people didn't necessarily, want to hear those things, but I did. I started it back up, and I began to talk about like our responsibilities,
Hmm.
you know. And it's so funny because obviously, one, Twitter should never be your source of the pulse of the people,
Right.
right? That's first and foremost. But it is a valuable tool. And here's why I say that. Because there are always going to be those people who are on your side of a conversation, those people who oppose it. But what we have to learn is, or we have to know, is we can be educated by both sides. Just because an opinion is not your opinion and you believe it is wrong doesn't mean you can't gain some perspective, And so, like, I would listen. They would be like, "Why aren't you talking about like this player or protecting this player like you do this, person A, black person?" And I talked about it a little bit. It's when you are a minority, and which we are.
Right.
When you are in a place of not having the power, of being treated inferior at times, it promotes this sense of community, right? Because it's all you have,
Hmm.
right? It's why I'm from the South. It's why so many Black Southern Baptists preach hellfire and brimstone, right? Because they preach that. So while you're living a certain way, and while you're fighting to make ends meet, while you're working your butt off, being mistreated, all those things, they preach the fire and brimstone. So if you live a certain way while you're alive, you get to go to heaven, and that's where your reward is,
Right.
because the life you live in is so damn crappy.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And so that type of thing gives you a sense of community. And so like I do, like when I'm on TV and I'm talking about young black men and women, I'm protective, and
As you should be.
because like that's my community,
Right.
and I'm honest about them, and but I am protective of them. But white people don't understand that because they didn't never have to
And
be
do it. You
protective
don't have to do
because you
it.
got it already,
Hmm.
right? Like you got authorities and you got laws and you have all of these things that are going to protect you that we didn't. So we had to learn to protect one another.
Right.
And so, now that you get an opportunity to have a voice, I think that voice is important. I don't necessarily believe it's our obligation. I think it's wrong. It's wrong of us to condemn or critique African Americans with platforms who don't use them for the African community,
Right.
right? We should not judge those people or consider them less than,
Hmm.
right? But because there's always a but. The but is when we do have African American people with platforms who do use them for the community, we should treat them as such. We should treat them as people who care about us. We should praise them for the work that they're doing, the whether it's the LeBron Jameses or the Maya Moores or the Patrick Mahomes or whoever it is that is using their platform to step outside and be a part of the community when they don't really have to,
Right.
because when they pull LeBron James over, they ain't gonna treat him like that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But he's speaking for the other kid from Akron who doesn't have that voice. And so I love the fact that now we have more athletes, more former athletes, more prominent, successful African American people who are willing to use their voice, their platform, to not only support our communities in the negative times, but bolster them in the times um, of positivity, of accomplishment, of success.
I like that, man. That's real, man. And it's straight on to what I was gonna ask, man, to be honest. So one other thing that I always think, and I always watch ESPN, what are your thoughts on panelists or analysts that never played the sport a day in their life? Probably just sat in the class and learned about it. And they had these outlandish, thoughts on, Patrick should have done this in the Super Bowl. He should have done, or I can't believe he's living his life like this. How do you sit there, hear those things and come back with those?
I mean, I think I've gotten good enough at my job, and they respect me enough that the respect they show me in answering these questions when they say they'll defer to me or they'll give it to me sometimes keeps me from jumping on certain thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I do understand that it is all opinion. The one thing I never do is speak to intention, right? Like you'll never hear me say a player is scared,
Right.
right? Or he doesn't have guts, or he turned, because I don't really know, right? You don't necessarily know their intention. So all I can do is I try to watch the film, and if I can't prove it on film, then I shouldn't say it. Well, I think a lot of times, like that's what it is with them. They got to try to watch the game and try to figure out what they think is going on because they don't necessarily know because they ain't
Right.
experienced it. But I think, like, I love basketball, right? I can analyze basketball. I played basketball, until I was going to college, and college basketball coach asked me if I wanted to walk on. I was like, hell no, y'all have to use me for no practice dummy. But I was good enough.
Right.
I was good enough to be on the team, you know. But there are oftentimes they don't want to let me talk about basketball. I was hosting First Take one time because Stephen A wasn't there, and they were like, well, when we get to basketball, we are going to bring on such and such.
Mm.
And I said, well, if you're going to take me off when we do basketball, I'm not going to host the show. And so they asked me why. I say, here's why. I say, Stephen A gets to talk about basketball, boxing, football, baseball, golf, all of these sports. And he's never played any sports professionally.
Right.
I said, but you're telling me because I did play a professional sport, I can't talk about other sports. I said, that doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so you're telling me a dude that played zero professional sports can talk about them all. But because I played one specifically professionally, I can't talk about them all. That's dumb. I said, because we have the exact amount of shots in the NBA, which is zero,
Right.
right? And so I have no problem with people who haven't played certain sports analyzing them as long as they understand like their point of analytics should be a little different.
Mhm.
Um, but I do have a problem with you boxing athletes into only being able to analyze sports that they played.
Right. Yeah. That's foolish, man. That's crazy. And in that, man, I would want to ask, how how was it, if a person want to come into journalism, black person, what would you say is the road for it and the struggles that you kind of went through going into it?
It's hard. It's I get that question so often. Um, I think because I become prominent now, or I'm on TV a lot,
Right.
and it's so different. It's so different for me as opposed to people who didn't play football.
Right.
People who don't play football or don't win championships in the NFL, they don't get to be on First Take. I
Right.
was just on First Take talking one day, and I was like, "Hey, you should bring me into debate skip." Playoffs come, we were out. They brought me up. Like it was that simple. And I don't think it's that simple, but I do know that now there are so many more avenues to get out what you want to say, so many more avenues to display your talent, and it's all about getting opportunities and doing the work, whether it's radio, podcast, as you're doing. Like you got to do these things as much as you possibly can and put out um, as much material, as much content
Right.
as you can. Like the more they see you, the more they hear you, the better it is for you. Like because if you truly stink at it, them hearing you all the time ain't gonna change the fact that you stink.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like you can't suck anymore because they hear you all the time. But if you are good, and if you continue to get better and better and better, if you continue to put out that content and give yourself those opportunities, I believe it's huge. But obviously, go to school, right? Graduate.
Mhm.
While you're trying to graduate, make sure you're building a reel. Make sure you intern at radio stations, intern at news stations. Just get around people, get connections, get to know people. And I think it's all about the effort. So many times it's not about what we do as in how we approach it, how we do it. And if you continue to do the work, you continue to put yourselves in the right positions, those opportunities can only help. Doesn't mean that you're going to get it,
Right.
you know. But when person A goes to a certain school, that school is where such and such went, and now they can link up, or that person comes back to the school that teaches in it. Like you need to be in that class too, right? You need to be at that news station too. And so you got to give yourself as many opportunities to touch and be around the right people as possible.
You're right about that, man. All touch into networking too, man. And like you said, those different schools, I definitely done that. Me being an engineer and doing this as
Mm-hmm.
well, I definitely reached out to people not only that went to Clark, but also went to Northeastern and other schools.
Mm-hmm.
So that's amazing, man. And in that, I would say, how was it playing in the Super Bowl, man, and winning Super Bowl? That was amazing. Super
Uh,
Bowl.
it was just, man. I think it's the pinnacle of team sports for a football player. It's why most of us, once you start a season, it's why most of us are playing. That's where you want to be.
Right.
That's the opportunity you want to have. And what was amazing about doing it in Pittsburgh was just being so close with those dudes. We were family, man, and we still all talk to this day. It's still important for us to be around one another. It's still important for us to be connected. I actually talked to Troy Palamalu earlier. We're gonna drive out. I'm gonna go get my son. We're gonna go visit my son in Arizona for his birthday. Drive out, see them, spend some time. It's just um, to win one is great because it means you didn't lose it.
Right.
And having lost one, I could tell you that I remember losing it more than I remember winning it.
Mm.
I probably, if not asked a question about it, or if it's not relevant into some discussion, I don't really think about ever winning it. I think about losing it a lot,
That hit
and
home.
so I think, yeah, so I think, winning it is just the realization that you didn't freaking blow it,
Right.
that you didn't, work your whole life and work that whole year to lose
Mhm.
in the Super Bowl, man. But it was, um, It's something they can never take away from us. You know, I can go crazy and suck on TV or whatever it is, but they're never going to be able to take away that I'm a Super Bowl champion. And I think that matters to me more than anything because I'm not a Hall of Famer. I'm not going to be someone who's remembered as the greatest to ever play the game, but I will always be a part of a championship legacy, and those things are important to me.
Cool, man. So lastly, before we close out, man, do you have any questions for me?
I don't, man. I don't. I think more than having a question, I have a statement for you.
Hmm.
Um, I don't, I'll be honest. I don't love media,
Hmm.
right? I don't love TV. Football was my first love. Football is my passion. This has and these type of things, like the extra things, they take a ton of effort for me. I'm gonna
Right.
be honest. I woke up this morning at 7. I went to work at my facility. Been training all day. Been out all day. Just got home. Um, been talking about the pro day tomorrow and on the phone with producers and stuff. And I'll be honest, if you wouldn't have continued to reach out and be diligent about what you wanted, I would have never done it. You know,
Understand.
if it would have been one time, I'd have been like, nah, man, like I just don't have time, which I don't. Like I'm about to leave, go do something with my wife. So what I want to say to you, man, your diligence, your steadfastness, your approach was professional. It was more than anything, it was respectful. And that's why, I'm here. I think those things are going to take you a long way and no matter what you do. So I want to say, keep doing that, keep spreading love, keep supporting, keep educating.
Got you, man. Thank you for that. And in closing, man, thank you for the episode, man. I actually email you and everything, get in touch with you, but I actually want to send you some of my merch. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, man, that's pretty much it. And thank you for everything today, brother.
All right, man. You have a great day.
You too.